Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Hollywood Matt Connolly with the double biceps. It is in the contract. It is a legal requirement every single time we appear on camera. This is the AWE podcast number 7, episode 7. We are at 7 already. Last week we had our wonderful guest of Ryan Blue Bowen. He is pulling Chance Shaw at the Apex AWE 1 Bowen versus Shaw event, which will be at the Norwood Oval here in Adelaide. But you can see it on pay-per-view on Ryan Blue Bowen's channel. It is on the 25th of February. Yep. Going to be massive, absolutely massive. My co-host, co-founder, co-wearer of clothes, co-breather of air in this very room, the master of disaster, the king of sting, the Count of Monte Cristo. It is, in fact, the winner of the Dave Stockbridge of the Year Award. It is Dave Stockbridge. Welcome to your own podcast.
Well, thank you very much for that very, very warm welcome once again, Hollywood Matt Connolly, and welcome back to AWE 7. I mean, this is 7 episodes down already. Big event coming up, 25th of February, as you were mentioning before. Some big names on the card. But today we're talking about the 5 big names, the big influencers in the arm wrestling world right now who aren't big competitive names. So I'd like to think Hollywood Matt Connolly is going to find his way on the list somewhere, but let's see how we go. So let's not put it into an order at this stage. Let's just throw some names, some names into the hat, and then we'll put that hat into the ring, and we'll see how it all works out from there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Hollywood Matt Connolly, you're keenly across all things arm wrestling, and obviously covering off on everything that everybody's got to say in that world right now, but there are a few new voices that have emerged over recent months, and some of those emerging voices are gathering quite the large audience. And so who are a few of those people that aren't competing on the table right now, but are nonetheless making an impact on our sport?
Yeah, well, the one we were talking about just before we started was the biker, and I believe his name is Etienne, and I think he's based in the US. But yeah, he has made a big impact.
The Whisperer.
The Whisperer,
the arm wrestling Whisperer.
The guy who wears the aviator sunglasses, and he's obviously a decent arm wrestler, and I've seen him compete in a few tournaments and stuff like that and do quite well. And he will get amateurs to have a go. And I think he actually, at this point in time, I think he's putting money on the line and saying, here's $100 if you win, or here's $500 if you win.
So you can just challenge him on his channel, and if you can beat him.
That's right. But
not bad.
You can see he's quite strong. He's very adept at what he's doing, but he's fair. And this is what I like about the guy, is that when amateurs have a go at arm wrestling, usually it's a lot of just straight sideways pressure, which is dangerous for them because you're putting your humerus bone at risk in that position. But and if you're the experienced arm wrestler, what you're going to be doing, if somebody is doing that, you're going to be putting just enough pressure to stop yourself from being pinned, but you're not going to be really resisting hard against that, because then that's going to put that pressure on that bone.
So you're going to try and cup them and roll back a little bit with them to give them just a little bit, but without putting too much pressure on the humerus.
Exactly, that's right.
So that's what you like about him.
I do. I like the fact
that he's not breaking people's arms when he could.
Right.
Okay,
that's right. So and people are going as hard as they can against him, but he got that nickname, the Whisperer, because
he seems to send encouraging words across the table, behind the glasses, and he will let people know, oh yeah, you're strong.
Yeah, you feel strong.
Feel strong. Absolutely. I want to know you're strong before I pin you. That's kind of the nice nurturing words coming out of his mouth.
Absolutely. Yeah. But he is giving safety tips at the same time. Make sure you look at your hand. But he's got this sort of charisma about the way that he's saying these things. Oh, you feel strong as shit.
It's kind of almost under his breath, isn't it? Yeah.
And the other person is bright red, sweat pouring off. They're giving it absolutely everything, and he's there. Yeah, that's good. I like that. Yeah.
It's almost dirty talk, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. And I love the fact that in the comments, everyone loves this whispering stuff, and they're like, as soon as the biker starts whispering, that it's over.
It's over. So what was known of the Whisperer before he emerged on YouTube? Is there any knowledge? Is there any information out there, or is he simply a product of social media and has come out of the ether with his with his glasses and his dark glasses and his soft tones.
It's very much a character, isn't it? And that's what's so awesome about seeing these things.
And he does compete.
Yeah.
He's out there competing. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So he's done quite well. But I don't know like his full story or anything. But when I first saw it, and
I wonder if he did tell you, he'd just whisper it.
Yeah, maybe he would. Maybe he can't speak like without whispering. It's only in whispers. I only speak in whispers. I can't raise my voice any higher. This is my shouting. This is it. This is all of it. I'm yelling right now. I'm furious. So good. No, well, he was popping up through my social media feeds, and a couple of people would send me some videos of his and that sort of thing. And when I first saw it, I was like, oh, that's interesting, or it's funny, or whatever. Yeah. But I didn't feel like it had much depth behind it.
Okay.
I thought this is...
You thought, nice gimmick.
Yeah.
But where does it go?
Exactly. And the difference between somebody who can find success and maintain it is having that background of something that you can really delve into.
Je ne sais quoi.
Yeah, exactly. Because if it's very surface level, like if that was just what he was doing.
Superficially, he was just doing YouTube channels, him whispering to people, and then pinning them.
Right. It would have a shelf life. It wouldn't have anything that would push people to look further into arm wrestling or further into him or further into the sport. It would just be that's the thing, and it's just a different person each video that's trying to win, and it will have a certain reach, but it won't go much further. But the fact that he is legitimately competing in arm wrestling tournaments, that he is putting up these money offers, that he obviously knows and the fundamentals and is teaching, and maybe he can branch out into this is some courses and how to get better and all that sort of thing. So there is that depth there. It's not just that surface level 30-second clip where if somebody sees it and they go, oh, that's funny, and then they move on to the next thing, whatever it is. So I think that's really important when people are trying to make content that is sustainable, that it has depth to it. Yeah. So it can't just be a 1 minute thing and then it's just that 1 minute thing repeated again and again and again. Because it's going to start here and then it's going to slowly go. Yeah. And then people go, oh, you remember that thing from 8 years ago?
It seems to me in the arm wrestling world, he's gone quite viral with that whole shtick, and it's worked really well for him. So, but you've seen something a little bit deeper than just that,
right?
It seems
absolutely. Yeah, I love the fact that it's a character and it's memorable, and the gimmick side of it in terms of the whispering is funny. He probably didn't mean to do that. It's probably just him. But the aviators and all that little thing that makes you recognizable. So I think he's done very well.
We're going to listen to the fans on this because we would like to see a couple of these people on the podcast very, very soon. So if there's any chance, even if he's just whispering, we would love to have him on the podcast.
Put the volume way up.
Your listening pleasure. So I'm going to throw a hat in a name. I'll say hat in a ring. Jake Ward. So Jake, the Aussie arm wrestler, has given up his full-time job. He gave up quite a good job there in Melbourne and is now dedicating his whole life to creating YouTube content around arm wrestling specifically. But although arm wrestling is really his passion, he's got, I would say broadcasting is his passion, really. I think, it wouldn't matter if it was arm wrestling or a horse race. You want to hear Jake Ward talking about it. Yeah. He's got a great charisma and just a wonderful turn of phrase that brings your attention to whatever might be on the screen at that point in time. And obviously a huge talent. And that's why King of the Table want him. That's why East West want him, and why AWE want him, because he understands what creates attention at that specific time, and he understands what it is that people want to see and hear at the same time. And it's a wonderful talent to have. And the fact that he's now taken a big step back away from competitive arm wrestling, the sport that he loves, but felt that he had to do that simply in order to be able to pursue the broadcasting in the sport. It's a wonderful story, and it's great to see that he's doing especially well and has really found his niche in that world of arm wrestling broadcasting.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. The fun thing is when I think he does lives twice a week on his YouTube channel. There was one this morning. haven't slept for a couple of days. I don't remember what day it is, whether it was today or yesterday. But it was some time ago.
In the last several hours.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
He has a very big community support, and when he jumps into his live, so he'll schedule a live and say, say Tuesday 9:30 in the morning, I'm going to go live and I'm going to talk about this topic, and you can see that it's on his channel, and you can click into it and wait there. But when he actually turns up at 9:30 or goes live at 9:30, there's already 50 people in the chat that have been sitting there waiting, talking to each other, ready to watch the show.
Yeah.
And then he makes sure that he interacts with everybody in the chat. So he says hello to every single person that's in there, and then very responsive to the comments. And so that really gives that community feeling to it, that you are speaking to him and he cares about your opinion, and he'll comment on what you've said and give you his thoughts on it.
Yeah,
which is so valuable, because if you're just an arm wrestling fan and maybe you live somewhere where there isn't any clubs or there's no one else that's interested in it, but you can get in this community with Jake Ward's people and talk about it several times a week, and develop friendships, and you feel like you're part of this, and it's like, oh, this is fun. Like, I'm talking to arm wrestlers about arm wrestling, and it's you feel like I'm part of this. And I think that's so important, and such a intricate thing that he's built, where you don't see that. I don't think anyone else has really built that. I've seen other lives that have bigger audiences, but they're not as interactive with the people that are actually in the chat. And I think maybe it's because they have these bigger audiences, it makes it more difficult. Maybe with Jake, because at the level that he's at, he can afford that time to be able to say hello to everybody, to interact with the regulars and all the rest of it. But, if you've got 1 million people in there, or 500, let's say there's 5,000 people in the chat. It's impossible. You can't keep up with everything. But at this point in time, I think he's doing a really fantastic job. And the people that are supporting him right now and are part of that community, they're going to be fans for a long period of time. Absolutely.
Yeah. Jake is very generous with his time, and he really does value that community. And he's not necessarily curating a community. He's more just getting back to you. He feels compelled to, like, if you've been kind enough to leave a message or leave a comment, he wants to reciprocate. Like, he genuinely wants to make sure that that he's seeing that comment, and that he wants to respond in kind, and always with the best of intentions, and a spectacular star. And I guess there's no secrets as to why Jake Ward has now elevated himself to that top echelon of arm wrestling commentators and speculators that are out there right now. So who might else feature on your list of arm wrestling influencers and personalities in 2023?
Well, it is somebody who does regular podcasting with Jake, and that is Uncle John.
Uncle John's
arm wrestling show. So he has been doing a fantastic job building an audience. I think he's in Canada. He's going to kill me if he's
You don't want to say America and then really offend him, but he's somewhere like North America.
Yeah, the North American continent.
Region.
Yeah. The whole continent. He's in there somewhere. But he has a personality. He's interesting. He has interesting thoughts on how...
And what's his background?
So he's an arm wrestler as well. Okay. Competitive arm wrestler. He competed in Arm Wars probably 3 months ago.
Yeah.
To a controversial moment, which sort of had some fan backlash, which saw him take a couple of weeks away.
Let's talk a little bit about that, because it was a glitch in the matrix, and it caused a stir in the arm wrestling world. So what happened there for John that kind of put his career seemingly in some in some kind of
trepidation.
Position. Yeah, I wasn't sure if that was a word, so I was best not to
Triceratops. Absolutely. Troglodyte.
So it put him into and I guess this is the difficult scenario for a lot of people that are now making a name for themselves on YouTube, who may have otherwise been able to enjoy obscurity and anonymity, who are now very much in the public sphere and are part of that public discussion and find themselves as public figures, and all of a sudden they get their first little wave of backlash over something they've said or done that maybe they're not entirely proud of. And so what was that in this situation.
Yeah, well, I think it's important to note the context for Uncle John.
I want no context. I just want...
I just want pure hate and rage
and
outrage.
Yes, there's death threats if we can, just for no reason.
We'll stir up a mob.
So what was
if you're on the North American continent,
that's right, and have a pitchfork, we've got an address for you.
Start some fires.
Yeah. So how did it all flare up in this case? Because quite an anonymous figure otherwise, and he's out there doing his thing on YouTube and stuff, but not creating a lot of controversy. As a matter of fact, garnering a lot of positive attention. And then this particular thing happened. What was this particular thing that happened? What was the moment?
Look, I'm not going to skip straight to the moment.
I
want to give the background of it.
Okay. Well, let's warm up to that moment then. Hollywood Matt Connolly, if you will.
So Uncle John had his YouTube channel, and it was running, making content. He was making the standard sort of arm wrestling content. This is how you do this. Here's a challenge that I'm doing with bicep curls and that sort of thing. Getting some attention, doing a good job.
That's right. He had the Uncle John challenge. There was a challenge there for a particular arm wrestling lift, wasn't there? That's at some point? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I won that.
Did you?
No.
It wasn't filmed. If there was film in the camera, you would have been number one.
If only. It would have been so close.
It was absolutely quite good, though, because there was...
I felt like if I whispered halfway through the lift, I would have had...
if you had the whisperer, maybe, if you've had him on repeat.
Even if you've been talking to me. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's good.
Just one more. It's
Feel fantastic.
Halfway through.
I can do it. But he had a certain lift that he was for this competition, which was quite funny. It was a riser sort of lift, which was very strict, and he had explained the rules. It must be done this way, and if you do it any other way, it doesn't count. And for the first couple of weeks, the people that were sort of jumping onto this, everyone was doing quite strict, and then eventually people said he went records with the worst technique possible. It became worse and worse as it was going. It was like, it's just fantastic to see the progression of like strict to absolute dog crap.
And did John draw the line somewhere? Did he say no to those final?
I think the community was doing it on his behalf.
Okay, so they were self-regulating. So
that's terrible. They knew the rules. That does not count. So good. But yeah, so he was putting up these sort of content and these sort of challenges, and he wanted.
I think Ryan Bluebone won all of those challenges, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I think Lachlan Adair won.
Did he really? The riser one?
Yeah. I think he was in the lead, and then I think there was some footage either from the past or Levan.
Oh, Levan. Somebody found a video from Levan when he was 3 years old. And that blew that. Absolutely,
yeah, for sure. You just say the word Levan, you're like, yeah, all right.
You can have it.
Yeah, it's the trophy. Get your money and leave. So he was rising through the ranks, but he wanted to go to the next level, and he discovered that if he created this character, which was an aggressive, it was a heel sort of character.
Okay.
In the wrestling world, the heel is the bad guy.
This is when Hulk Hogan went from being a good guy to a bad guy.
It's a Hollywood Hulk Hogan.
Hollywood Hulk Hogan. Yeah.
He wore a black t-shirt.
Yeah, that's right. And it had the tips.
And a bandana.
Yeah.
To cover up his balding.
Yeah.
You can't ever body slam him when he put that bandana on. It was stuck. It was glued. You never see a picture of him without a bandana.
No, not anymore. No.
Even in court. His son was in court and he had to attend as a witness, and he had a black bandana.
Of course you do, brother. So he took on a character, you're saying.
Yes.
So he got as far as he could as his natural self, and then he had to become Uncle John.
Yeah, well,
actually, Uncle John, the character Uncle John.
Yeah.
And how did that differ from him?
It was very aggressive and very
aggressive
over
version.
the top.
So it's like a juiced up version, basically.
It was, you guys are rubbish and I'm the man, and this guy's terrible and I'll destroy him.
I love this Uncle John.
Yeah.
This is great. I missed this Uncle John. I got as far as the competition,
Yeah.
and then after that, I didn't see much.
Yeah.
And so he dropped away in the algorithm. So,
Right.
but you obviously kept following.
Yeah.
That's why we have you, man.
He put the aviators on as well. Maybe he originated.
It's a sign of evilness, isn't it?
is.
Once the sunglasses go
right.
on, that's why I can't trust Jack Nicholson.
Or Tom Cruise.
Or Tom Cruise. I won't take the glasses off, even inside. So
That's right.
So so he took on this character, and then what became of him? What became of this character?
Yeah, well, he started getting a bigger audience, bigger following, more attention, and because he's
So it was working.
It was working. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was getting higher profile matches based on that. You know, the people are interested in who he is, and he's like,
And he's a handy arm wrestler.
yeah, he is a good arm wrestler, absolutely. And so he had a couple of matches, I think, throughout that time period, and he's quite good. I mean, he won a couple, lost a couple, but you know, he was able to use that as content and fuel to keep his character and his audience growing, which was working really well. Gets a match on Arm Wars with you know, the Neil Pickup or Iron House, I believe it's called.
Iron House, yeah.
Yeah, and throughout, I think we've talked about this before, but with the Iron House production, they have like a pre-match interview, and then they're like doing an interview with the competitor in between every round. And so he's putting this character persona on, and you can see the difference very clearly between him from his older videos where it's just him talking normally, and then the character that's, you know, portraying this bad guy. And
So it's the difference between Dwayne Johnson and The Rock,
Right, exactly.
basically, isn't it? You know,
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, for sure. So he was doing the bad
Do you
Uncle
think?
John.
Do you think the general public knew what was going on there, or were they not quite sure what was going on?
Yeah.
Maybe is that the problem a little bit, that everybody wasn't in on the joke
I think
and understood?
It was so over the top that you couldn't not. You're like, okay,
recognise
this
it.
is a character,
Okay.
you know. And so after each round, it was it was very much the character talking, and I'm going to crush you, blah, 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 you know. And regardless as to what had happened,
It didn't matter.
Right.
He had things he wanted to say,
that's
regardless
right.
of the
He
result.
had the script he had to get through. We got 7 lines for each round. So, but in one of the rounds, his opponent sort of dropped away. He was trying to slip. And you know, so if in arm wrestling, when you start, you both your hands are out of straps, and if your hands slip apart, then you get strapped together.
And if I can get into shot, that would be kind of from this situation.
Your head behind me.
Yeah, so you do that, and you're just going to slip.
Right.
Yeah.
So for people that are stronger in the strap, they are trying to slip away to get to the strap. Or if they're about to lose, they will slip to try to get a restart, you know, to have another go at it. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So his opponent was trying to do that. But Uncle John has a very strong grip. And so the opponent was trying to slip away, and Uncle John had a very strong grasp of his
iron-like
fingers.
Grip.
Yeah, and so the
Wouldn't
opponent,
let the opponent get out of his
that's right, and the opponent's
out of the setup.
really far away from Uncle John at that point, trying to slip, and
Running away.
yes, and at that point, Uncle John pushed forwards with his arm, and what the cause of that was that the opponent's arm got pushed
All
quite
the way back.
severely in a
Ugly position.
key lock sort of position, which, you know,
Is a win in BJJ, by the way.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
congratulations.
That's right.
But in this case, it didn't.
Yeah, it was a nasty sort of thing to do, and people recognised that that was not.
Do you
nice.
think in part that it's because he's playing that character and because he's feeling like maybe that's not in his natural self, but in the character of Uncle John, he kind of thought, you know what Uncle John would do?
Uncle John wouldn't let this go?
Uncle John isn't going to let this go leave. He's not going to leave without some pain.
That's
and
right.
so he leant in, and the effect of that, of course, is that it puts the opponent in a very compromised position and potentially injured.
Yes, potentially injured,
okay.
like potentially a serious broken arm injury.
Broken arm injury.
Yeah.
Okay, so what happened after that? The arm wrestling world. How did the arm wrestling world respond? How did the comments light up?
Well, so with Iron House, it's recorded and then it's edited and it's released 2 months later or something.
Yeah.
And so he'd had the match, he'd gone back, continued his content. No one knew what the result was. No one had seen the match.
Yeah.
Then the match footage came out, and there was a big backlash against that move because, you know, it is It is kind of a nasty thing to do to someone. But I can see where...
That's what Uncle John does.
That's what Uncle John's all about, baby. Uncle John ain't going to let that fly.
It's about the W.
That's right. That's right. Because I think from memory, his opponent had slipped a few times in the earlier rounds. And he's like, I'm not going to let this happen again.
So he talked it up as well. Like he gave full warning.
That's right.
It was on the way.
Yeah. And it is that sort of thing when somebody's trying to slip. And it's frustrating because it's like, I don't want you to slip. I want you to have the match with me. And then they keep slipping away and it's annoying. And it's like, well, if you're going to be in that exaggerated of a position, I'm just going to, he wasn't thinking obviously that I'm going to do this to hurt the guy.
Yeah.
He's not a nasty person. So, but yeah, he pushed forward. It was not a good idea.
It was not a good idea. And a lot of controversy. And I guess that's what clickbait's all about, I guess. So, do you feel like that was, and what was the aftermath of that for Uncle John? So you said he went on the down low for a little while and you couldn't find a video. He dropped out of doing some of those podcasts that he was doing quite regularly up to that point. And what became of Uncle John? Yeah,
so he stepped away for a little while, probably maybe 2, potentially 3 weeks, because people are stupid on the internet. People just, want to raise things to the next level. The opponent was fine, and he had John had apologized at the moment, and then again afterwards, and again later. So it's like, what else do you want? Yeah. That's what he's done. He's recognized okay, I shouldn't have done that, and I accept that.
Now, is it within the rules as far as you can discern? And being an AWE referee, if you saw that on the table, how do you see it?
It could have been disqualification.
Could have been. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's a pretty nasty thing.
If
you intentionally, if you're doing something that could potentially injure your opponent, like a serious injury.
Fucking Cobra Kai never die. Fuck it. Sweep the leg. Yeah. So Uncle John. Big moment of controversy, probably one of the bigger moments of controversy in 2022 from athletes and influencers, I would say, and obviously had an effect on him. And how do you feel that he reacted to that?
I think he did it quite well. I think he took a couple of weeks off to let everything sort of build up to a frenzy and then start to die down, and these stupid people find the next thing to get outraged about.
Yeah.
And then when he came back, I think he did the smartest thing he possibly could, which was just embrace it and go, yeah, that's what I did. Like, I accept full responsibility. I did the wrong thing, but I'm not going to let this destroy my thing. Like, I love arm wrestling. He was fine. I'm fine. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. Like, if you hate me because of that, whatever, I'll lose you as a fan. Yeah. I'm just going to keep rolling on with what I do, and I'm not going to be cancelled over this.
Yeah.
So yeah, great, good move, and he's hasn't looked back since. He's doing really well.
Yeah. So Uncle John's gone from strength to strength since the controversy, and continues to be one of those key figures that influences arm wrestling from the fringes, and is even getting in there and getting active from time to time on the biggest tables in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Did you see that Schoolboy had torn his left bicep?
I heard the news. I saw the news this morning, actually, in my feed, and I couldn't zero in and identify exactly what had occurred. And when I popped back in a little bit later on, I wasn't able to get to the bottom of it. But to me, it looked like a bicep tendon tear. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I believe from what I read from the post that they were skiing or they were in the snowfield, and he had an accident, and left bicep has been unfortunately torn, but it's nasty. It's a nasty injury, especially for an arm wrestler. But, it might be a year until he's sort of back, potentially training again, and hopefully he can get back to a competitive level with it. But,
wow.
Yeah. I mean, same thing happened with Fatali Mateo, who's one of Australia's top arm wrestlers, and he had torn bicep. Well, I think it was on his right. 2 years before he was sort of back in contention, but then in the last year he has come back with a vengeance, and he will be featured as one of our big matches.
Was that a segue, Matthew?
It wasn't deliberately. sort of organically happened.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah.
But he will be back at the AWE
But it is that year or two, isn't it? And it's that year or two in a sport where at the moment there's not a lot of money. Like if it's golf and you injure yourself and it takes you 2 years to get back and you're at the top of your game, well, you've got every incentive to get back there. But for arm wrestlers, there's not necessarily that $1 million payday waiting on the end of it. So, for these guys to come back from a year or two and to slowly ease themselves in to deal with the dysmorphia, because anybody who's an arm wrestler has obviously got a fairly well developed bicep and forearm and probably prides themselves on that. And it's a big part of their physicality, and to lose that and to deal with the atrophy and then to slowly work your way back up, and to always know for a year or two that you're weaker than what you were. And to lose the 2 or 3 years of development can plague on the mind of an athlete. So anybody who comes back from that, it has all kudos to them. Yeah. They've got all of my respect and admiration, because I think anybody that comes back from such a major event in a sport like this deserves every success that they have on the other side of the rainbow.
Absolutely. Yeah, overcoming adversity, isn't it? And for the people that are able to come through injury or come through a horrible situation and stick with the discipline and the sacrifice and the effort and push through, and then still be competitive, and not only be competitive but exceed and start to grow their career again. It's an amazing effort from those people, and then that's where you find that strength of character. That's like, these people had every reason to quit, but they got back on and they are still winning,
there's only two positions left on this top five. Wow. And so we come to number 2 now. And who would occupy number 2 on your ladder of the top 5 arm wrestling influencers that aren't there in the world right now on the tables actively or at the top end? Because you do have the monster Michael Todds, who are very definitely at the top end. They're in peak condition. They'll be invited to any table around the world. You've got Ryan Blue Bowen, who's definitely an arm wrestling influencer, but obviously operating at a pretty high standard as well, and taking on Chance Shaw at the AWE one at Apex Sport Fest at the Nord Oval on the 25th of February. So get your tickets now at Diamondback FC, or jump onto Ryan Blue Bowen's YouTube channel and just get yourself the pay-per-view if you don't want to come all the way to Adelaide. So you can do both of those things, as a matter of fact, if you really want to.
Do both of them.
Yeah, do both. Why not?
Yeah.
Attend the event, get the pay-per-view, watch it over again. You might even see yourself in the background.
Right.
So you've got these a lot of these figures within the sport now that have arisen, not just because of their sporting prowess and their abilities on the table, but because of what they say to camera and the audiences they've been able to garner and the opinions that they share. And is that chap in India?
Yes.
So he's been building a name for himself, and not without some controversy as well. So and over the last year or so has garnered quite a large audience. And
Pradeep Singh.
Pradeep, and he was kind enough to give us a shout out for the AWE.
Yeah.
So God bless Pradeep. So thank you very much for that. But also, has. Like I say, hasn't been without controversy, and he hasn't been afraid of picking a fight here and there within the arm wrestling world, and maybe that's part of his secret to success as well.
I think one of the interesting moments is what we were talking about earlier with Uncle John. So Pradeep Singh was one of the channels that really called out that and said, this is not a good thing and you shouldn't have done this. But Pradeep sort of targeted Ryan Bowen. Over Ryan's,
which I think we all should do. Like, we can default to just blaming Ryan.
Right, I think most people do.
Yeah. His shoulders are getting wider, so he's got all the more space to take that responsibility.
Right, yeah. Just reminds me of that Simpsons episode when Homer got accused of like sexual assault, and they cut to like a Sally Jesse Raphael sort of thing, and there was a woman in the audience going, "I've never met Homer Simpson, I've never had any interaction with him whatsoever, but I just can't go on." And the host is like, "Oh, your tears say more than real evidence ever could." It's like perfect example right there. People falling off their bike. Oh, Ryan did this. you know. So yeah, but it was an interesting.
But Pradeep set himself up originally just delivering the arm wrestling news. So it was just like, here's the news that I've seen. This is what I've seen online, or this is what I've been able to find out. And here you go. And of course, you can't do that for any length of time because every bit of news needs some editorial and needs an accompanying opinion piece. And so he's not been shy in sharing what his opinions might be on the news of the day either.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. It's been interesting to see the growth of these channels. And, there was probably 4 or 5 that sort of were coming, that were emerging around the same time, and to varying degrees of success and different directions of their audience and their content. So yeah, with Pradeep, it was I'm just going with a news and then opinion about the news. Whereas with Jake, it might be I want to build a community and have a real place where people can hang out and talk about arm wrestling, and he's able to use his skills as an MC and as a broadcaster to have that, really take off.
His niche.
Little niche.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's his shtick, so to say. So if you want something entertaining that's going to be high energy and you want to know what's going on in the world of arm wrestling, well, you can turn on Jake Ward and the Aussie arm wrestler, and out of that, you're going to walk away kind of pretty happy and understanding what's going on in the world of arm wrestling, and maybe even some insights into the minds of the best in the world.
Absolutely, yeah. What is interesting is seeing the assistance and the support that the channels have given each other, and I see it all the time with the guys that are talking in Jake's chat are running their own channels, and they're doing a really good job.
They're just arm wrestling nerds. This is what you're saying. Yeah, it's like they're fans as much as they're creating content. They're fans of the sport,
fans and competitors, and they're all around the world. And some of them have developed channels that are more successful than Jake's, but they are still fans and they want to be part of the community. And it's like there's one in particular which is popping out in my mind. I don't know what his real name is, but his channel name is Performance Enhancing Pancakes.
Performance Enhancing Pancakes.
Yeah, which is obviously
reveal yourself, whoever you may be.
That's right. It's obviously a play on Devon when he was stacking weight on to go against Levan and against Michael Todd. But so he's
like an in-joke of an in-joke.
That's right.
In arm wrestling.
That's right. Absolutely. So he's one of the members that's always on the chat, always friendly, always nice to people, and his content is taking off, and he's getting thousands of views on his videos. He's doing great video edits of all these different things and events and matches. So he's taken his skill, which is obviously creating content in terms of getting match footage and making it exciting and presenting that, and he's able to find his own niche through Jake's original community field. Yeah, but he's still part of it. And so there's that working back and forth. Yeah, and it's not only him. There's probably,
and it's fair to say, like Jake is more than aware of this, and is being of some assistance as well as are those other prominent voices that have emerged over recent times in the arm wrestling world.
Absolutely,
who are seeking to stake their claim on the YouTube territory that might be opening up when it comes to the sport.
Yeah, well, as I've mentioned a few times, that Ryan Bowen is behind the success of so many arm wrestling channels. I don't think people realize that majority of what they're watching, he has had some influence on. And it's because he's willing to provide assistance with, hey, this is how your thumbnail should look. This is what the description should sound like. This is what the content should look like. This is how you should edit that video. Here's a template for Photoshop. Here's a template for this. And he's just willing to give everybody all of that, and I mean, you sort of got to prove the fact that you are actually doing something and trying before he would put the time in to actually explain something.
But you found that yourself, haven't you? That Ryan's been quite unconditional in the information that is shared. And once he's come across a little bit of gold that's been helpful in his journey, he's been more than happy to share that with whoever else it might be helpful to.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's been enormous. And by doing that, you're guaranteeing the success of the sport and the community as a whole, and the whole industry of arm wrestling, as opposed to just trying to keep it all for yourself. And if you're doing that, if you know all these things that could help other people, and you're not giving that information out, people aren't going to be giving that information to you either. Like, you might be missing out on interesting tips or things that you could have done better but people aren't going to give that to you because you never respond to their messages or you never ever help anybody else. I'm not saying you have to do it that way. I'm just saying that it is an interesting aspect that I've seen across the arm wrestling world, and it's the same with in person when you're arm wrestling somebody. This is how you beat me. This is how you need to, I'm beating you because of this. You need to change that.
Yeah, and that's kind of permeated through to the social media as well, where those people that are making an impact and doing the right things and getting results are coming to their competitors or frenemies and saying to them, hey, this is what's working for me, and have the information. If it works for you too, great. And if it doesn't, let me know, because that'd be interesting as well. So there's a real exchange of ideas within the arm wrestling community at the moment, and amongst those influences that you've mentioned today, that I think puts the sport in good stead, because you've got some. It's over the last 12 or 18 months, you've seen some of these names and channels emerge, and I think the arm wrestling world is richer for it.
Absolutely.
So I think we do have our 5 now. So we've got performance enhancing pancakes. We've got Pradeep. We've got arm wrestling news. Is that Pradeep?
That's Pradeep Singh. Yeah.
Pradeep's arm wrestling news. We've got Aussie arm wrestler Jack Ward. We've got the. Are we going to call him the biker or the whisperer? What does he prefer?
I don't actually know. I think he originally started calling himself the biker.
He started off with the biker, and then the public are now calling him the whisperer.
Right. Yeah.
I think we go with the whisperer. I know him as the whisperer.
He's the whisperer.
And 5th and final...
wow. Did we mention anybody else?
Uncle John.
Uncle John, yeah, perfect.
We've got Uncle John, so they're our top 5, and and these are all emerging channels. So I think it's unfair to judge them based on views or what's going on at the moment. But I think because you kind of see this this tug of war happening, and where some videos get huge views and others don't, but by and large you can kind of average it out and see all of these channels are emerging and getting attention from different places, and also appealing to their own niches within the sport, which is for such a niche sport is just super surprising and wonderful to see.
Yeah.
So of those, where do you go for your arm wrestling news, Hollywood Matt Connolly? What is your go-to? If you could only have one of those 5 channels, what would you go to in order to find out what's going on in the world of arm wrestling?
Jake Ward, definitely.
Jake Ward, Hollywood arm
wrestler,
Hollywood Aussie arm wrestler Jake Ward. So the Aussie arm wrestler Jake Ward.
Yes.
And why would that be? What do you find in the content mix of the Aussie arm wrestler that leads you to gravitating towards the channel to find out what's going on in the world of arm wrestling?
Yeah, I think because he's so in with what's happening, as in he might be emceeing an event, a massive worldwide event with some of the top elite pullers in there. He might be actually part of that event. So you're getting the inside information as to who might be there, what the feel of how the event is going to be running. And not only that, but he's on the ball in terms of knowing the ins and outs of all the top competitors around the world, as well as the local Australian scene. And then he's funny, he's charismatic, he's entertaining. He will engage with everybody who's there to talk about arm wrestling, and you can see that he's genuinely a fan of the sport. And when somebody has those talents and puts them all together, and you feel like you're talking directly to someone who's very knowledgeable and is charismatic and funny, and you feel good, and it's like, I'm finding out about this, say, King of the Cage or some King of the Table, or the AWE event that's coming up, and he'll explain, these are the people that are on the card, and he'll know everybody and what the strengths and weaknesses of each person is, but he's saying it in a way that's very easy to understand and not going full scientific. It's like, this will be a great matchup. This is why you should watch it. Here's how you do it. I think he's a top-notch class act. And if any channel is out there that is easy to watch, where you can find out so much, and people don't sort of realize the level of knowledge that's being broadcast across, because it's entertaining, And it's like, I had a good time watching this. And it's like, and I've learned, really, you now know the 30 matchups that are happening across the world in the next, week or whatever. So Yeah.
Well, I think as we were planning the AWE event, for instance, on the 25th of February at AP Sport Fest, get your tickets now at diamondbackfc.com. Or, of course, head over to Ryan Blue Bowen's channel, because it's Ryan Blue Bowen versus Chance Shaw, and an undercard you don't want to miss. So make sure you get the pay-per-view today. Head over to the channel right now. But one of the first places you would have heard about that was on Jake Ward's channel.
Absolutely.
So he was right onto it. He somehow found out about it and was all over it and was sharing it with the world. So, if you ever need to know what's really happening in real time, regardless where you might be, everybody talks to the Aussie ArmWrestler.
Right.
So I think there we have it. There's our top five influences of 2022, and Jake Ward is our number one influencer for 2022. So congratulations, Jake. Well done. Well done, Aussie Arm Wrestler, and Mrs. Aussie Arm Wrestler. I know you're sitting there in the background. So congratulations. And I think really, if anybody needs to know what's going on in the world of arm wrestling, they can, of course, tune into the AWE podcast. But Jake Ward, he's got the lot. Head over there, and you're going to see the biggest names in the sport, either on a podcast or in a long-form interview. You get to find out more about the athletes on his channel than you are likely to anywhere else. And, of course, when it comes to breaking news and covering the biggest events in the world, well, it's all there on the Aussie Arm Wrestlers channel. So of those people that have emerged in the last 12 or so months in the world of YouTube, I would say that I agree wholeheartedly with the findings there, Hollywood Matt Connolly. The Aussie arm wrestler Jake Ward, I think, is our number one influencer for 2022. So,
does he get a trophy or anything?
Well, we've got one spare just in the background.
We do, actually.
We've got Tito Ortiz just checking out the
right. He's choking the trophy.
The trophy,
the trophy,
which is exactly what you would expect Tito Ortiz to do, of course. Absolutely. So we might find that over to might fly it over to Jake Ward, and we'll fill out that plaque and make sure that he knows he's our number one influencer here Absolutely. At the AWE podcast. So congratulations, Jake Ward, and of course, regardless of who you might be following in the world of arm wrestling, just keep true to the Sport Pro Nation. Make sure that you're on the tables and following the people that matter, and keep up to date with all of the news. And of course, if you're interested in the very best matchups in the world, well, stay tuned to AWE, because here on the podcast, not only do we cover those biggest contests in the world, but you might even find them in our events. So we've got Chance Shaw coming all the way over from Florida to Adelaide, Australia, to be competing on the 25th of February with our own Ryan Blue Bowen, and that'll be a tremendous matchup. It really is a grudge match. It's 2 years in the making since Ryan went over there, and let's face it, humiliated a young Chance Shaw at that stage, and just trying to create my own little controversy here. But I think Chance took it on the chin, and not only that, he could have gone two ways. He could have gone, why am I losing to a redhead, and given up on the sport, or he could have gone back to the gym, and that's what he's done. He's gone back to the gym. He's got bigger and stronger. He's got massive. He's got massive. 135 kilos, I think, is the last reported weight. I can't wait to have him on the podcast so we can have that discussion with him. From what we can glean from last week's podcast with Ryan Blue Bowen, Ryan's doing everything to chase him on the scales as well, and looks to be doing everything he can to weigh in as close as possible as he can to the massive Chance Shaw. But they'll be meeting in a cage, so this will only be the second time in the history of the world, as far as I'm aware, that an arm wrestling event, an arm wrestling fight, will be held in a certified, regulated cage prescribed by ISCA for combat sports events. And so this is a monumental event here in Australia. So certainly stay tuned and grab the pay-per-view now. I think for less than $10, you're going to get more than your $10 worth. And there is a tremendous card that sits in behind that. And if you do want to know more about that card, then I would suggest hang on to our next episode of the AWE podcast, because we'll be covering all of the matchups on the AWE card, sitting there underneath Ryan Blue Bowen and Chance Shaw. So stay tuned for more of that. But in the meantime, you've now got our number one influencer of 2022, Jake, the Aussie ArmWrestler Award. So congratulations, Jake. The trophy will be coming over to you soon to join your other trophy, highly coveted number 3 bronze medal.
Third place left-hand amateurs Victorian state titles, I believe.
Yeah, it'll be joining that very auspicious trophy on the mantelpiece very soon.
Most electrifying trophy in all of sport.
All of sports history. I think there's a prize on that trophy. He said somewhere in the vicinity of $250,000 now. So if you want to mortgage your house and have a shot at it, you can certainly do that. All you need to do is write it in the comments of the Aussie Arm Wrestlers channel. I'm sure he'll take up the invitation.
Absolutely.
So you give him the tickets and $250,000 on the table, and he'll see you on the table wherever you may be anywhere in the world.
You know that the handle off one of the sides broke off.
Although it's made out of a high quality plastic, it's nonetheless still plastic.
That's right.
But I think that just adds more substantially to the value, because I mean you can't replace that now, can you? You can't replace that trophy. It is truly one of a kind. So
I think he's put tape on it, but it's black electrical tape.
Hasn't even tried to conceal the break. It's even better. Even better. So thank you so much for joining us again on the AWE podcast. We look forward to bringing you more arm wrestling news. And, of course, stay tuned for our next episode where we'll be covering off an in-depth analysis of the AWE card at the Apex Sport Fest on the 25th of February here at the Nord Oval in Adelaide. But if you don't happen to be in the Big Brown Land, well, you can head over right now to the Ryan Blue Bowens channel and make sure that you subscribe, of course. And after you've done that, head to the next panel and make sure that you're getting your pay-per-view well in advance. You will put yourself now, I believe, if you buy a ticket now, you will get 2 tickets in the draw to win 60 or 40% of the prize money. So I believe that Ryan's putting up his entire prize money that he would garner as a result of his participation in this event. So I believe that there is a split. So winner gets X amount, loser gets X amount, and I think it's a 60-40 split. I could be wrong. Let's say it is. For the purposes of this.
I'm pretty
podcast.
sure that's what he said.
So let's say Ryan loses. I mean, we'd hate to see that happen, but let's say it does happen, and a Hawaiian shirted man walks away with the trophy. Well, then you as a viewer who has registered on Ryan's channel and who has bought a pay-per-view will have 2 chances to win his prize money. This is outstanding. I mean, how often is it that an athlete will give over their earnings, especially when they're a professional athlete? And this is the only way that Ryan gets to make money is through YouTube and competing, and he's giving it all away, and this will be one of the biggest events for Ryan for this year. And so and if you head over to his channel, you'll see he's promoting the event, he's training hard for it, he's bulking up, he's doing everything he can to make sure that he wins, not just for himself but for whoever it might be that jumps into the draw. They will get a slice of Ryan's action as a result of his performance there at the Apex Sport Fest at AWE 1, and I believe AWE 2 is already in the planning, in the works. So thanks so much for joining us. Make sure that you're subscribing to Ryan's channel, our channel, Chance's channel, the Aussie Arm Wrestlers channel, all of the influencers that we spoke to today. Make sure that you're keeping up to date with all things arm wrestling, and of course subscribe to AWE, because we'd love to see you back here next time. I'm Dave Stockbridge, this is Hollywood Matt Connolly, and there's some double biceps for you just before we go, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time.